Accepted. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Youch Films podcast, the show where we kick back and talk with some of the animation and film industry's most interesting minds. I can't wait to get this started. Wait.
Thank you so much, Linda. Yes, everyone, welcome back. We have with us tonight a marvelous voice actress, Linda Ballantyne. For over 20 years, Linda has been providing voices for dozens of animated characters in both movies and television, including Wicked from the long-running PBS show Cyber Chase, Wasp from Avengers United They Stand, Serena from Sailor Moon, Percy from Thomas the Magic Railroad, Magnolia from George of the Jungle, along with many, many others, which we are sure to talk about in this hour we have with her. How are you doing, Linda?
Excellent today. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. Also, I have joining me tonight also is my wonderful co-host, James. Hi, James.
Hey, folks.
James is just so romantic.
Oh, now I'm just blushing here.
I just had to throw that in. Why not, eh?
Howdy, folks. What a romantic punchline, huh? Okay. So, James, you and I were talking about this before. How are we going to start this? I completely lost it. Linda, let's start with you, because that's the whole reason why we're all here. Well, what gave you the acting bug? Where did this all start?
You know what? I think it's something that lives inside an actor, and you don't really have a choice. I think you sort of get to, you go through life, and I was always a kid that needed to have attention, needed to be the center of attention in my family. They never gave it to me. It drove me insane. And yeah, I always had to be on stage. As soon as I heard that there was going to be a play, I was auditioning for it. Any drama clubs, I was always a part of it. I had to do it. But the funny thing is, I honestly believed when I was growing up, I believed that the only way you became an actor is if your parents were actors. And my parents weren't actors. And so it always really bummed me out. I was kind of like, oh man, I would love to be an actor, but you can't be an actor unless your parents are actors. Because I was a bit of an idiot, I think. And so I sort of went through life thinking that. And I remember in high school, I guess I was in grade 12. And I said to my drama teacher, I just loved this guy. He was one of the people that I held on a pedestal. Anything I could do to make this guy happy, I would have done, because I just thought he was the greatest guy in the world. And I said to him, it's going to sound really crazy, but I think I want to become an actor. And he said, that doesn't sound crazy to me at all. You already are an actor. And I said, really? And he said, yeah, if you don't become an actor, that would be crazy. And so I went, oh, but I didn't think people just decided that they wanted to become actors. And he said, how do you think they become actors? And I said, I don't know. He thought I was an idiot. But anyways, and that's sort of how it all started, was me just sort of coming to this realization of, this is all I can do. Like, this is what I have to do. I don't have a choice. I need to be on stage. I need to be doing this kind of stuff. So I went to theater school, and it kind of all went from there.
Wow. Well, first of all, that's absolutely amazing. I just wanted to first and foremost apologize if I sound a bit nasally. I'm getting over a cold, so
I just finished getting over a cold too. There's a rotten thing going around, I can tell you that.
This season, right?
Yeah.
So what became after that? What did you do? You went to theater school, is that correct?
Yeah, I actually went to university for 1 year, for a theater school and university, and I hated it. I left after 1 year saying, I don't want to be a tree for the rest of my life, because that's how I felt that I was going to be. It was terrible. And I just worked for a few years, and I got pretty lucky. I got an agent, and I started booking jobs, just on-camera jobs, doing commercials and TV shows and stuff. And I had a fairly decent little career that was sort of going. But I just didn't feel like I had the focus that I needed. I was just sort of going, I don't know where I want my career to go to. So I found another theater school that I'd always really wanted to go to. I auditioned for it. I got in. And in that theater school, when you're in theater school, they have a whole bunch of different courses. So, you might take a movement course, or singing and voice and ballet, everything. It's not just getting up on stage and doing monologues. and stuff.
Yeah.
And one of the courses they had there was a microphone technique course. And as soon as I got in front of the mic, as soon as I put the headphones on and I could hear the spit between my teeth, I just went, I love this. This is exactly what I want to do. And I just got it. I knew how to do it and I could feel it in me. And so when I graduated from theater school, I did the full 3 years. And when I graduated, I went to my agent, because I had an agent at the time. I said, I really want to do voiceovers. And my agent said, well, that's great, but you need a demo. And I said, oh, I got one. Here you go, because I had one made in theater school. And they said, okay, we'll listen to it. And they said, okay, it's pretty good. We're going to send you to an audition, and we'll just see how you do, and we'll go from there. I don't know whether you're going to work or not. So the very first audition I went to, I got the part. And after that, they just went, okay, you're going to work. And they believed in me. And because they believed in me, I believed in me. And so I just started working. And then I got pregnant, and then I couldn't do on camera. So my voice agent said, yay, you're all mine. And I went, yay, I don't need to do on camera. I hate doing on camera. I hate it. It's the worst. It's the worst for me. And so that's kind of how it went. My agent believed in me and just kept getting me more and more work.
Wow. Now, was this first audition, this first role you got, was that for Wasp?
No, it was not. As a matter of fact, it was for a butter commercial.
Oh.
Yep. That was my very first voiceover ever, was for a butter commercial. But the very first animation part that I ever got, and I think the very first animation part that I ever auditioned for, now that I think about it, yeah, I don't think I had ever auditioned for another animation part. That was Wasp in the Avengers.
Yeah.
What intrigued you about Wasp?
Yeah.
I'll tell you, one of the things, it's going to sound really bad, one of the things that really intrigued me was the fact that my brother is a huge comic book fan. Huge. And so when I got this part, well, for the audition and then the part, I called up my brother and said, hey, I just got a part in a cartoon. And he said, oh yeah, really? What? And I said, I think I'm the Wasp in the Avengers. He goes, it's Wasp. Wasp, not the Wasp. Wasp, you are Wasp. And I said, yeah, I think I'm also a part called Janet Van Dyne. He goes, it's the same part. It's the same part. Oh, why are you? He started giving me so much grief, and I thought, oh, I better start reading up into this a little bit more.
Now, there's a bit of an interesting story here with you and Susan Roman in this role. How did you meet Susan?
Well, oddly enough, when I was in theater school, and I was doing my voice course that I had, the microphone technique course, they brought in a guest. And this guest came in and was telling us all about microphone technique and what it was like to work in animation. And it was Susan Roman who came in. And as soon as she came in, I recognized her voice. I was just like, oh, I know that voice. I know that voice. I know that from this cartoon and this cartoon. And I sat there going, oh, this is what I want to do. And she is so good at what she does. And she knows how to do it. And she's very, very, very technical. She knows why she makes sounds and how it is to set your voice, your vocal cords to get ready to make a sound or to make a voice. And I sat there and I ate up every single word she said. I was like salivating going, oh my God, she's fantastic. And I wrote down everything and I just drank it all in. And so when I went to audition for Wasp and there was Susan Roman sitting beside me, I was like, oh my God, I'm beside the goddess herself. What's going on? I'm not ready for this. What? And it came down to actually between me and Susan Roman. Wow. And I didn't know this. When we got our callbacks and everything, I came in and there was Susan Roman sitting there. And I just thought, oh my God, there's no way I'm going to get this. I've got Susan Roman sitting here. And I sat there thinking, okay, what can I do to make myself sound like Susan Roman? I've got to make myself sound like Susan Roman because there she's here. And then I stopped myself, and it was perhaps one of the first and probably last wise things I've ever done in my life. I stopped myself and I went, wait a second. You are here because you did a read that they liked before. So why are you trying to be someone that you're not? Just slow down, girlfriend, and do what you think is right for this role. Don't try to sound like Susan Roman. Try to sound like Linda Ballantyne. Do your own thing. Yeah. And so I did my own thing, and I ended up getting the part.
That's wonderful. Now, what year was that she came to the theater school and talked to all of you? Because we talked to her about a month ago, and she never mentioned any of this.
Mm. She's sneaky that way, isn't she? Let's see. What year would that have been? It probably would have been around 1993, maybe.
Oh, okay. So that was
early 90s, I would say.
Like 93, 94 would be my guess.
Yeah, probably around there. Yeah.
Now, what shows did you recognize her from? Because I know she did around that time. She did Tintin, but there wasn't really much speaking. It was mostly barking. What?
No, but she was in the Care Bears. She was.
That's right. That's right.
Yep, and the Raccoons. She was in that. She was also in Strawberry Shortcake. She did a lot of stuff, and she was the boy voice and the little girl voice in so many cartoons. And when you hear her voice, just her regular speaking voice, she's got that beautiful quality to it. She's just got a great sound to her, and you just know it. You just know. You go, oh, I love listening to her talk. Except when she talks too much, and then it's too much. No. She's not even here to defend herself. She literally lives right around the corner from me.
Really?
Yeah.
That's so adorable.
A 5-minute walk from my house.
That's awesome.
Go ahead, Dragon. You're going to say something.
Circle back to Wasp here. How do you feel about after playing Wasp, I assume you maybe looked into Marvel a little bit, and working on the show. Avengers United, they stand. Like, where do you come out of it after that experience? Like, how do you feel about Marvel? Like, do you watch the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies at all? Ant-Man specifically. Like, how do you feel about it? All of that.
You know what? I love watching all of those kind of movies. And it's funny. I was just talking to my husband about that the other day because he's like, you know what? I don't really like any of those kind of movies. And I'm like, why? It's the whole fantasy, the whole take me away, save my life, save the universe. I love all that kind of stuff. I just find it's just fun. It's absolutely fun. And I'm going to be honest with you. I have this great fan that I love, and he actually sent me Ant-Man, and I haven't seen it yet.
Well, you got to watch it. It's great.
I might watch it tonight, as a matter of fact.
I haven't seen that movie either. I haven't seen a very large majority. Well, I don't think I have seen any of the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies except for Spider-Man.
I was going to say Spider-Man. Come on.
Yeah, Spider-Man. I saw Guardians of the Galaxy 2, and then
yes,
I saw Iron Man when it came out back in 2008. But up until Spider-Man, I had not seen anything from Marvel.
Not even X-Men?
What's that?
X-Men?
I saw one of the X-Men movies way back sometime long ago. But no, I'm really not much of a superhero fan, to be honest. There's just so much of it going around. It's all connected too, so you got to figure out what you're going to do and how you're going to watch things. And just a lot to take in.
It's funny because I watch a lot of them on planes. Whenever I'm on a plane, I seem to see them. I'm like, woohoo!
That's how I watched Guardians of the Galaxy 2. That's right.
That's how I watched it too. You were sitting beside me. That was you. You fell asleep on my shoulder.
So that's who it was. Oh, I thought. Anyways, so your career. What happened after Wasp? How did things take off after that?
Well, after I started doing voiceovers in general, I got pregnant. And then I got pregnant again. And then I got pregnant again. And I was just pregnant so goddamn much that, I shouldn't be swearing, that my agent took over. And what did come next? I suppose Sailor Moon came next.
Really? Wow. That's a really big leap. Wow.
Yeah, how do you reunite with Susan Roman on that one anyway? What brings you to Sailor Moon?
What brings me to Sailor Moon? What do you mean?
Yeah. I mean, like, how did you find your way into Sailor Moon? So you auditioned?
I had to audition. Everybody has to audition for everything they go for, basically. You kind of get to a point in your career where sometimes they'll just paper cast you. So they'll say, I know she can do this role, so there you go. But when it's a big character like that, of course they're going to be auditioning. So they had massive auditions for that. And I was sick as a dog. I was so ill when I auditioned for that, and that's why I got the part. It sounds as crazy as it could be, but I was so nasally and my nose was so stuffed up. And Serena with Terry, the way she talks is so much more sort of in sort of the inner nasal cavity in a way, she gets up there and sort of, she's always sort of got that, and my nose was just full of snot. And so I got this part. And then after I got the part, I was not sick anymore. And I was dreading it. I was going, what the hell am I going to do? Because I don't sound nasally right now. And I actually toyed with shoving Kleenex up my nose. And then I thought, oh my God, I'm going to look like Rocky Balboa by the end of it. My nose will be so wide. I'll have stretched out my nasal cavities and look like an idiot. So I did not do that. But I certainly struggled through it. That's for sure. This was not an easy part at all. And it had a huge fan base already. And it was terrifying. As soon as I got that role, I immediately wanted to not have that role, because I realized immediately the gravity that it held, and it was really, really hard. And the direction that I was getting was not great, to be honest with you. It was they kept wanting me to go higher and higher and scream more and more, louder, scream higher, higher. So that's why for so long I was going the whole time, and I hated it. I would literally come home crying after each episode going, I hate this. I can't stand this character. She's driving me crazy. I hate the way this is going. And it was really, really hard. And my husband would say, you got to make it your own. I'd say, you don't know what you're talking about. And I would cry more. And every day I could feel everything tensing up. I could feel my, the neck muscles in me tense up as I drove into the studio. I'd just be going, oh my God. And again, I'd go in there and higher, higher, louder, louder. And I'd be, And finally, one day I'd had enough, and I just did not want to sound like that anymore. I didn't want this character to be like that. And so as I was driving into the studio, I said to myself, because I like to talk to myself in the car, I said, okay, what is it? What would you do? What could you do to make this different? I said, well, if I was starting it all over again, this is what I would do. I would make this character who I want this character to be. And then I said to myself, what do you want this character to be, Linda? And I literally had to stop myself and say, this is a teenage girl. In one hand, teenage girls are just so complicated. In one hand, they're kids. They just want to be goofy, idiot kids. And on the other hand, they're emerging into adults, and they want to be taken as an adult. And so I wanted this character to be this silly, goofy character that also was in charge of saving the world. And how could I do that? And I slowly talked my way through this on my way to work, and I just slowed it all down. I said, I'm not screaming anymore. I'm not doing that stupid high pitch. Blah, 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 blah. And that's when it started to get a lot more grounded, I felt. And I thought it was a lot funnier. I always try and find the humor in anything I do. It's harder when you're doing dubbing because, all the words and all the lip flaps are already mapped out for you. But, you can still find all that. And I think that I did. I think that that's when it started to really change a lot.
And that's interesting. You mentioning all the this whole situation with you being sick and then getting the role because of that very statement. I've been sick for the past 2 weeks now, and my voice gets very thorough Ravenscroft, I guess. I love voice acting as well. I do a bunch of stuff for my own projects, and it's wow, like how different your voice can get when you're sick.
Completely. It's funny. Right before Christmas, I was really sick, and I worked so much. And I kept saying to myself, really, why do people decide they need me when I'm really sick? But I would go in there, and I realized, if you're not doing an ongoing character, it's not so bad because people aren't necessarily picking you for your voice. They're picking you for your acting. And, if you can bring across the performance that they want, that's what they're looking for. They're looking for that acting, that nuance, that the feelings and stuff that you're delivering when you're doing characters, this is. And so it really wasn't that bad, actually, except working when you're sick is never that much fun. But
yeah. And right before Christmas, too. That's a bummer.
As long as I got rid of it for Christmas, that was fine. I gave it to my husband, though, so he was sick for Christmas. I'm like that.
So let's see. What year did they bring you on as Serena?
That's a good question right there. You should know this.
1999?
Yeah, I think it was 99 because I had my my last baby in 99. So it was right around there. Hang on one sec.
That's a good way to track the career. It's like by kid.
Oh no. Now I'm choking death. 1 second. I just breathed in dust.
Uh-oh.
Woo! Sorry about that. Yeah, so I had 3 kids in 3.5 years, 3 babies in 3.5 years. And when I did Sailor Moon, my youngest she wasn't 1 yet. And she would toddle around behind me. And as I was warming up, if I could go, then I knew that I could get the voice out. But I was losing my voice all the time doing this because it's just so hard on your vocal cords, especially all the fighting and screaming you have to do at the end of each episode. You just lose your voice all the time. So I would wake up in the morning going, oh no, I can't get any sound out. How am I going to do this? And I would walk around going, we're trying to do that. And my little 1-year-old would walk around behind me going, And I'd say, are you making fun of me? And she would just nod her head, yes. And she was very adorable.
That's awesome. So fast forwarding a little bit, was there anything between Thomas and Sailor Moon that you would like to talk about, or any bit roles or any experience you had or any realization moments you had as an actor?
Well, I'm sure, God, this is hard. I wish I could remember everything that I've done in between them. I don't know when I did Gerald McBoing Boing. That was a really great one that I worked on that I loved. Gerald McBoing Boing was this really silly show where it stemmed from a Dr. Seuss book, and it's about a little boy who doesn't talk, he just makes sounds. And I auditioned and got to be the part of the mom in this. And because the little boy didn't make any sounds, the mother and father did most of the talking in it. And the mom was just this fun, really, really goofy, happy-go-lucky mother who just loved her son so much. And it's going to sound very strange, but that was very foreign to me. Not that I didn't love my own children, but I'm really sarcastic in real life. And even with my own kids, I'd be like, oh yeah, really? That's the best you can do? And they'd, be like 2 years old. I'm like, really? That's the picture you drew me? Seriously? And, but they know my sense of humor, so they would always just laugh and they didn't care. But suddenly when I was doing this part of Gerald McBoing Boing, I remember going in for the audition and they said, this mom is this sort of, she's kind of goofy, but she really loves her son. I'm like, oh yeah, no, I don't think I'm good for this role then. And they're like, yeah, Linda, you're a mom, right? And I'm like, yeah, I'm not that kind of mom. Yeah, I don't put my kid on a pedestal at all. Yep. All right, well, and then I stopped and I went, Linda, what are you doing? You're an idiot. This is called acting. This is when you act like you're the nicest mother in the world. So I went, okay, I'm going to act like I'm the nicest mother in the world. And I got the part. So I guess that acting worked. And I loved that part because she was just so silly. But in that part, they let me really put in my own stuff. So if I had a line that I thought was funnier than what they had written or better or whatever, if I wanted to add something to the storyline, they let me do it. And it was so much fun. And that was one of the first times that I had ever had that chance to do that. And so I really learned a lot. Every single time, I swear to God, every single time I walk into the studio, even to this day, I learn something else. Like you always learn something. You got to just always keep on your toes, whether it's watching how another actor does something or even how they prepare, or if they don't do something right, you go, oh, I'm not going to do that ever. Oh, I know where they're going wrong now. But, so that was one of those sort of aha moments that really catapulted, I'd say, my career in a big way, because it just clicked my mind into the right place.
Wow. Now, you had little kids at this time, and I'm not sure how big Thomas was in Canada around that point in time, but it was definitely huge in the United States. How did it feel going into that? Did you know how big it was?
Well, yeah, I certainly knew Thomas. I'd seen that. Of course, I only have daughters, and my daughters could care less about trains. All of the little boys in their classes loved Thomas, Thomas. And so I certainly knew what it was. But when I got that part, my agent said, okay, so you've got to go into the studio before you record so that you can meet the writer of Thomas. And I was like, well, okay, whatever. I didn't think anything of it. And I got in there and there was Britt standing there. And it didn't really click into me. Yeah, the enormity of who this woman was. And my biggest worry was I said to her, oh, you're actually British. Is my accent okay in the thing? She's like, oh, it's fine. No, it's fine. Lovely to meet you. And I was like, oh, nice to meet you too. Okay, bye. Really. And then afterwards, I said to my brother who had boys, I said, oh, I got to meet the woman. I think she actually wrote Thomas. I'm not really sure. He's like, oh my God, are you kidding me? You just go. You don't just walk in and just say hi and that's it. So but I did. I just walked in and said hi, and it wasn't that huge a deal, but it would be now. If I met her now, I'd probably be a lot more amazed. I'm an idiot.
Now, did you, Susan Roman, of course, was also in this. Also, Neil Crone, who we also talked to some time ago now. Did you ever get to meet or spend any time with them out in the waiting area or anything like that?
Well, for that particular one, no, because you go in, you do your own thing and you're gone. You really don't even see the other actors at all. Like, 'cause you're all by yourself in the studio. You're not doing it ensemble at all. But I still see Neil Crone a lot. Like, he's a pretty good friend. We all see each other at auditions and at voiceovers and stuff like that. So
that's really great. That's really great. So what became after this? What came after Thomas? Were you still doing Sailor Moon? You must have, right? Because that was in 2000, early 2000.
Yeah, that was I would have still been doing Sailor Moon for a while. And I was also the voice of the Comedy Network for 13 years. So that's one of the it's basically like Comedy Central, only in Canada. Mm-hmm. And so I was the voice that was saying, coming up next on the Comedy Network, all that kind of stuff. And I was also doing a lot of commercials too. So my whole voice world really exploded in that time. And I was one busy girl with little tiny babies that I had to keep running back and forth, making sure that they got to school, or they weren't even in school, most of them actually at that time. I don't think any of them were in school at that time. So I was just like, my husband was working full time, and I'm an actor who's sort of running back and forth, looking for anybody who will take my kids so that I can go and do a voiceover. And voiceovers don't take that long generally, although Sailor Moon did. Sailor Moon, I said I would only do 4 hours at a time. And I said, I'm not going to do any of the screaming until the very end of the show, at the end of the recording day. And that's when I would do all of the, falls and...
Very, very smart. Very smart decision.
I know. But it's funny because I talked to Susan Roman and Katie Griffin about it, at length. Of course, we always talk about this kind of stuff. And they did 8-hour days, and they would go all day of 8 hours of screaming. And I just said to them, no, if you want me to do this, I can't do that. So that was another sort of learning point where I just took control of my own, of my career kind of, and just said, that's too much. Don't be silly. My vocal cords will be bleeding. And I've had it where my vocal cords have actually been bleeding. Like, my throat has actually been bleeding after doing a voiceover because it's that hard on your throat.
Wow.
Yeah. It's bad.
I did this thing a while back. I was reading lines back to actors they were auditioning for this film. And I had to, scream the lines back to them for this character, and my gosh, I woke up the next day. This was probably like maybe 3 or 4 hours. Woke up the next day, man. For the next week, my throat just killed me.
Yeah, and you got that husky voice after that for sure.
Yeah,
and it's pretty easy to get nodes on your vocal cords too, and I've had that as well, which is not fun. And then you just can't talk. You can't talk for like a month. You just say, okay, I'm out. I'm tapping out.
So then, how often do voice actors or voice actresses such as yourself work? Because I know you said at some point in time that you guys don't always work.
It's so weird. It comes in, like these giant waves of work, and then there's nothing, and you can go for a month, 2 months with not having anything, and you think that's it. They finally figured it out. I suck. I'm the worst actor in the world, and I'm never going to work again. Oh my God. And then boom, you get jobs and you're like, okay, I'm back again. Woohoo. But when I was at my very busiest, which was certainly when I was doing Sailor Moon, that was when I was doing that, and I was doing the Comedy Network. I was also like the voice of a couple of different products doing TV and radio commercials. I remember at one point I went over 2 months working at least once a day, a minimum of once a day, every day for over 2 months, which is insane. And at one point, one day, I actually did 6 jobs in one day. And I remember saying to them, okay, I will do that commercial, but you have to have my lunch waiting for me when I get there because I don't have time. And I, you know, again, I had a little baby at home and 2 little kids, and I'm going, oh my God. And I come home going, I'm so tired. I don't know what to do. And of course, now my family laughs at me and they go, oh, wow, wow. Did you have to talk today, Mommy? Did you have to talk into the microphone? Wow, wow. I taught them my sarcasm.
James, you there?
Yeah, I'm right here. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, did you have anything to say at all? You haven't talked in a while.
Well, I want to derail this train, no pun intended, with Thomas Tank Engine there. Oh yeah, I got a lot of nostalgic memories with Thomas and the Magic Railroad, especially with a certain scene involving Neil Cronin. But let me ask you this, Linda. You had the character of Percy. Now, Percy essentially is kind of like kind of the right hand that Thomas. Bear in mind they have no hands, but kind of like the best friend of Thomas the Tank Engine there. So you have a real big supporting character there. So what do you prefer supporting characters more than than your lead characters? Do you like how do you figure out a character like that? Just going into it not being uber familiar with the franchise.
Well. How did I figure out how to do Percy going into that?
Yeah, like how do you break down a role like that? How do you?
What were your first thoughts on the character?
You know, he's the littlest engine, and he was such a little, for me, he was such a little sincere thing, and just, I will do anything I can to help you. I can do this. And I looked at him like he was Thomas's younger brother, basically, who worshipped Thomas and wanted to do anything. And I know that feeling. I'm the 3rd child of 4 kids. So I have a younger brother, but I also have an older brother and an older sister. And, you know, I worshiped them. I worshiped them growing up, although you could never let them know that. All you could do to make yourself really great, like good in their eyes, was do whatever they wanted you to do. Although if they would laugh and say, you never did what I wanted you to do. but that's kind of where I came at it, this one, that I wanted him to be like that little brother who just worshiped his older brother.
Wow.
Yeah. I love that little guy.
Now then, what was your other question?
Yeah. It was just, well, overall, like out of all the various roles you've done, do you like doing supporting or main characters more?
Oh yeah. Oh geez. You know, I'll tell you, the one thing about the supporting characters are you end up doing a lot of little what do you say?
Incendiary?
Yes, thank you. You do all those little characters, and I love that. I love getting a whole plethora of people, and not like when I did Yin Yang Yo, that was a Disney one. I would go in, I was basically all of the female bad guys in that show. And I would go in there each week, and I wouldn't even know what I was going to be playing. And they'd say, okay, today you're going to be the Lie Fairy. And I was like, oh, the Lie Fairy. And they'd say, yeah, what do you got for that? And it was just literally, throw us anything you have. And so I'd just be like, okay, what do I think the Lie Fairy should be like? And I would just start going off on these rails of these different characters, and I loved it. It kept me on my toes. I did so many characters. I think I probably did about 20 different characters in that show throughout the, whatever it was, 3 seasons I think we did on it. It was so much fun. So I do love that. Although who doesn't love playing the main character? Come on, let's get real. Then you're in every episode. And
Speaking of, James, do you have another question about Neil Cronin? I think I heard you mention him.
Well, no, I was just always going to highlight that Neil Cronin scene from Thomas Magic Railroad, where it's where he's he's going for the scissors so he can cut the wire, and he gets he flings Alec Baldwin, the Mr. Conductor character, into the windmill in that hole. I just drawing a little reference to that, because I guess that scene always sticks with me, how great and intense and how wonderful it is. And there's like a little fourth wall break at the end. They're like, hey, they laid this for me, thanks. It was great. a little nostalgia flash there for me. Anyway.
Yeah.
Well then, speaking of main characters, when did Sailor Moon end? What year was? What year was?
I don't even. You guys probably know better than me.
I definitely wouldn't know.
Well, I think you wrapped up on Sailor Moon. I want to say, dude, from
2003, maybe.
well, I think it was like episode 83 to 159, if I'm getting that number right.
Yep.
And you guys didn't do Sailor Stars. That was out at that time, right?
No, yeah, they never ended up doing that, which was dumb, which is very frustrating because of the transgender thing. And so they stopped there saying, no, kids today aren't ready for that. And it was like, we didn't even realize, though. We had no idea. We didn't know that there was, we didn't get any of the scripts ahead of time, nothing. We literally went in there and it's like doing karaoke, and only you don't know the song. And they go ahead, sing. You're going, but I don't know what the tune is of this song. And I go, just sing, just follow the bouncing ball and sing. That's kind of what it was like. It was really tough. You had to really be on your feet and they just threw those words up at you and you're sort of going, okay, I don't know what's happening. And not only that, we were only doing our own lines. So I'd be in there all by myself and they'd say, okay, Linda's first line is at 127 on the line at the bottom. So they'd fast forward to 127. I would do my line and they say, okay, your next line is at 462. And so they'd fast forward to 462 and I would have no idea of what happened in between in those 2 minutes where I wasn't speaking. And they just say, there, say that line. And you'd be going, okay. And the line might have been like, hey, what's happening? So, I might just go, hey, what's happening? And they go, no. Right now in this one, you're going, hey, what's happening? Like everything's falling around. You're going, hey, what's happening? You just didn't know. It was crazy. See, now I've forgotten what the question was.
Well, I think you answered it. I can't remember what the question was either. But now you guys don't get any residuals for the show. That was just a handed check over for each episode, right?
And not only that, because it's dubbing, it's the worst pay scale of any, and it's the most bizarre thing. You get paid terrible money. You don't get any residuals for it at all, and it's the hardest work, bar none, in any kind of voice acting.
I'd imagine so.
It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to me at all, but it is what it is. And that said, because of Sailor Moon, I go to a lot of Comic-Cons and, do a lot of stuff there. And that's where the real fun that's where it's all culminated to now. Going to Comic-Cons, it gives me back that character. Because when you're finished doing a show, the character's gone. And you go, well, no, I loved playing that character. I loved that character. And a piece of you is in that character and suddenly it's just gone. And so going to these Comic-Cons and people asking all these questions and getting to do, interviews like this, it all sort of slowly starts coming back. I remember the very first Comic-Con I went to and people, they were asking me all these questions. I'm like, oh my God, I completely forgot about that. I totally forgot about that. And still to this day, people will send me episodes, on Twitter or something. Remember doing this? And I'll go, oh my God, I forgot about that episode. That was hilarious.
It's so wonderful because I imagine stuff like this. I mean, there are obviously shows that just kind of drop off the face of the earth, forever. But then there's stuff like this, and it's just the gift that keeps on giving,
Absolutely, it is. Absolutely. So I do wish that they had done Sailor Stars. I wish that they would come back and say, you know what, let's do it now. Let's bring all those old voices back and let's just do it because we could all still do it. No problem. It would be a blast. It would be an absolute blast. And because we've all moved so much more forward in our careers, I mean, this was at the beginning of most of our careers. Mm-hmm. And so, Katie Griffin, it was the very first thing she had ever done was Sailor Mars. And like thinking back now, I'm sure that she would say, I'd probably change this and this and this, and I'd look at it in a different way. I would for sure say, can you give me a script so I know what's happening?
Right.
I would absolutely do that.
Now tell us, while we're on this topic of Sailor Moon, why don't you tell us a little bit about the Comic-Cons, how did that all get started?
Wow. Well, I had this one fan that reached out to me on Facebook and said, hello, Miss Ballantyne. I'm a very big fan of Sailor Moon. I love your work so much. And would you at all consider, I know you live in Toronto, would you consider coming to Anime North? It's a Comic-Con here in Toronto. Mm-hmm. And I was like, dear Jack, what's a Comic-Con? And he's like, okay, well, and he explains this to me. He says, it's really great. People dress up in cosplay. Dear Jack, what's cosplay? I had no idea what any of this stuff was, none. And I said, look, with all due respect, I don't think anybody will really care. Like I don't think people would come and see me, honestly. And he said, with all due respect, I think you are wrong. And I was like, whoa, really? And he would not stop. He's like, I really think you should come. You've got a lot of fans that would really like to meet you. We have a lot of questions. I said, okay, look, I will reach out to these people and ask them if they want to have me at the Comic-Con. Meanwhile, I'm thinking to myself, I'm not reaching out to these people. No one wants to. Like, what? No one cares about Sailor Moon. And then I went, really, Linda? You have one fan in the entire world and you're gonna lie to him and say you're gonna do something and then not do it? That's not very Sailor Moony now, is it, Linda? That's kind of jerky. So I went, okay, I will write to these guys and I will ask them, if they're interested. So I wrote and I said, hi, look, I'm Linda Ballantyne. I was a voice of Sailor Moon. I don't know if you're at all interested in having me, but if you would, I have one fan who would like me to attend your Comic-Con. And, if you're interested at all. And they wrote back immediately, yes, we would love to have you. We've been trying to find you. We can't find you on the internet. You're nowhere to be found. And I'm
Wow.
like, really? And then I'm going, oh my God, now I got to go to this thing. What is this thing exactly? I'm like, oh my God. So I phoned up my agent. I'm like, I don't know. What am I doing? And she said, I think you might have some fun. And I said, oh my God, I'm not going to. So I thought, what should I do? I'm going to go to this thing. People are going to be throwing rotten fruit at me. They're going to be saying, we want Terry Hawks. We want Tracy Moore. Wait, who are you? No, we hate you. Get lost. And I thought, okay, well, if I can take a human shield with me, and that would be a lot better. So I called up Katie Griffin and I said, hey, Katie, what are you doing in May? Do you feel like going to a Comic-Con? She goes, sure. And I'm like, yes, I will use her as a human shield when they are throwing rotten fruit at me because they will be saving up their fruit for a month. And that month leading up to this, I was just going, what have I done? I'm saying to my husband, this is so stupid. I don't want to go there. They're going to hate me. They don't want to see me. Oh, my husband's just like, you know what? Maybe you might be surprised. Why don't you just go and have fun and just own it? And I was like, oh my God. So I went to this Comic-Con and I had no idea what to expect. I did not know what cosplay was. I didn't understand any of the culture at all. And I got there, and first of all, Anime North is unbelievable. It's a huge convention. It's a huge anime one, and everybody dresses up. Everybody. And there's thousands and thousands of people who converge on these corners of these streets dressed to the max. And I got there going, what is happening here? And I walked into the hotel, and this woman dressed as something, I don't know what she was dressed as, came over to me and she looked at my badge. It said Linda Ballantyne, special guest, and it had a big special guest ribbon on it. So I guess people could see that I was a special guest because no one knows who the hell I am when they see my face. And she came over to me and she looked at my badge, and then she looked at my face. And then she looked back down at my badge, and then she looked back at my face. And she said, Linda Ballantyne, the voice of Sailor Moon. And I said, yes, I am. And she said, now I've met two of you. She just turned around and walked away. And I was like, what? And I went, you know what? If this is what this is going to be, I am just fine with it. I am absolutely fine with it. So then I had to go to my first panel, and I'm going, oh my God, why? I don't know. What are they going to, I've got nothing to say. I have nothing to say. No one's going to care. They're going to boo me off the stage. They're all going to have their rotten fruit. And I go in there with good old Katie Griffin and ready to put her in front of me. And this place was packed. Absolutely packed. You couldn't get in. People were sitting on the floors all around, everywhere. There were hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people in this room. And I was going, I think I got the wrong room. And as soon as I walked in, everybody started to scream. And I went, oh God, they realized that it's not Terry Hawks, it's Linda Ballantyne. I'm dead. This is what they're going to throw all the fruit at me. Oh God. And I got in there and I sat down, and everybody lost their minds. They are the greatest fans, first of all, on the planet. Sailor Moon fans, they are the greatest. They give their hearts, They know everything about the show. They have questions. They have legitimate questions that need to be answered, and they wanted them answered. And it was amazing. I had so much fun. And I haven't looked back since. So Jack Buchanan, who was my fan, that my one fan that I have, Jack Buchanan, he is like my hero now. He's great. I keep in touch with him all the time.
And not a single Rotten Tomato was thrown that day.
Not one, which was crazy. Although the odd person said, you're not my favorite Sailor Moon. In fact, I couldn't stand your voice. And I'm like, fair enough. Me too.
So that was in Toronto. Now, what about stuff that's in, I think you did Boston, right?
I did. Boston was insane. Boston, there was thousands of people at the panels that we had there. That was crazy. I've done them all over North America for sure. And I've gone to Australia as well, which was, wow. Yeah, when you go halfway around the world and you get to a Comic-Con and people are crying, and they literally are crying because, everybody has this personal story, and there's something so special about that show. I've never had another show that has that kind of following or that kind of, visceral feelings that people have inside themselves, and they break down. Like I have had, people walk by and they don't even know that I'm going to be there, and they look up and they see that it's Sailor Moon, the voice of Sailor Moon, and they literally crumple to their knees and start to cry. Aww. And you're like, what is happening? And I every single con I've gone to without fail, every single one I've gone to, at least one person has come to me and said, if it wasn't for you, I would not be alive today. And, wow. And when you hear that and you go, what? Like I'm a voice actor. When I was doing this, I wasn't thinking I'm helping somebody out there. And these people come to you and they say, I where I was in my life, I was in a really bad place where I didn't want to live anymore. And if it wasn't for your show, I wouldn't be here right now. And when you hear something like that, man, you are crying, first of all. And, you're looking at this human being that is just so perfect in their own way. And one of the first ones that ever did that, she came over to me and she said that, and she was dressed up as Sailor Jupiter, which was a fault on her behalf, but whatever. No, just kidding. No, she came over to me and she said, without you, I would not be alive today. And she's crying saying this, and I'm crying hearing this. And then she turns around and she says, I'd like you to meet my daughter.
Oh my God.
And she's dressed up as Sailor Moon, and I'm bawling my eyes out. And this woman's bawling. The kid's looking at us like, what is your problem? What is wrong with you women? But it's pretty amazing. And I'm so glad that Sailor Moon was there for so many people. And I wish I had known how much power I had back then. But
so that's absolutely wonderful, Linda. So then tell us a little bit about how the whole system works. Like, do they pay you to go out to these places? I'm assuming they pay for the hotel and.
Oh yeah, they cover all your expenses, and they make sure that you're taken care of when you're there and everything like that. So it's all good. It's all easy peasy.
And you get to go with your friends. Yes,
I always make sure that I say that. I don't want to. I've done one by myself, and I was like, oh my God. When I go with my buddies, it's fantastic. We all get to hang out in the hotel rooms, and the really cool thing, oh my God, one of the coolest things when you're doing a Comic-Con is they have a green room usually for all of the actors and the people that are signing the autographs and stuff. Mm-hmm. So the green room is a whole other area that you go to behind the curtains, basically where the Wizard of Oz is. You're behind the curtain and you just hang out there when you're not signing autographs or you're not doing your panel. And, they've usually got food there and stuff like that. And you get to sit with I'm fangirling sitting back there because I'm going, oh my God. Like there's, Sean Astin. I'm sitting beside Sean Astin having lunch right now. Isn't this a very interesting thing? Oh my God, I'm freaking out, but I'm trying not to freak out. Like all these guys that I'm going, oh my God, I worship you. This is the coolest thing. One of the cool ones was one time I was in the green room and I look over and there's Christopher Lloyd. And Christopher Lloyd, for me, he was in Taxi. That was one of the shows that was big when I was a kid. He's been in so many things that I love him. But he was also Hacker in Cyber. So I'm sitting there going, we never worked together ever. We had never met because he'd be in a studio and I'd be in a studio and I'd be recording my lines separately from him. We didn't even get to do our lines together through a phone patch. We just I would only do the Wicked lines and that's it. And he would just do his. So I walked over to him. I'm just like, hi. I just wanted to come and introduce myself. And of course he's lovely. He's just like, oh, he gives me that sort of Christopher Lloyd look. and I said to him, I'm Linda Ballantyne. I'm a voice actor. And actually, I didn't even say it like that. I said, I'm Linda Ballantyne. And we've actually known each other for a very long time, but we've never met. And he gives me one of those looks. And I said, I was the voice of Wicked in Cyber Chase. And he just, and he stands up and he's so tall and he wraps his arms around me and he goes, Wicked. And he gives me this huge hug and I'm like, I'm dying right now. I'm so happy. And he was just lovely. We got to talk about Cyber Chase and all that kind of stuff and how much fun we'd had doing it. He says, I always wondered who that was. Oh, so good to meet you. Blah, 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 blah. And it was great. Wow. So there's things like that, or there was another time, this is one of the best stories too, was one time we were at Toronto Comic-Con or Toronto Fan Expo in Toronto. And that one is huge. It's like the size of San Diego. It's insane how many people are there. Wow. And the one that we were at, Mark Hamill was there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And Katie Griffin is the biggest Star Wars fan. She's like insane
Really?
Star Wars girl. Yeah, she's crazy, crazy, crazy. So we're in the green room there, and out of nowhere walks Mark Hamill. And Katie just locks eyes with him and goes, ah! And puts her hand right over her mouth because she has to stop herself from screaming, like literally screaming like the Beatles just walk in. She puts her hand over her mouth to stop herself. I drop my head down onto the table because I can't stop laughing. And he just walks by like, oh shit, I gotta get out of here. He says like, oh God, the fans are back here too. It was so funny. She's looking at me like with tears in her eyes going, it's him. I'm just like, all right, Katie, just calm down. Just calm down here.
Wow.
Oh, it's beautiful. She's the best one.
There was this, we were doing our research before we talked to you, just so we'd have some stuff to, talk about. And we heard that.
Oh no! It's not true. It's not true.
It's impossible.
We mentioned you mentioned the story at one of your panels that Susan Roman doesn't like signing anything Death Note.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. She's pretty vicious about that. She's like, no, I absolutely will not. And I said, Susan, do you even know what the show is about? Do you know what this is about? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
So why is this? Why? Because she didn't mention anything like that either. I wouldn't imagine she would, because obviously she doesn't like it.
You have to ask her. All you have to do is say, Susan, why is it you won't sign anything from Death Notice? If she won't sign the books, she absolutely will not sign those books. Because I guess, is that in the show that if somebody signs your name in the book, then you're the next one to die?
I honestly, I've never seen the show. I don't know.
I think that's what it is. I think that's what the premise is, because I always joke about that. And sometimes I'll write that in someone's book. I'll just write, please don't kill me.
God.
Do you think that's why then?
Yeah, yes, that's exactly why. And we may find out years down the road that that's not what that is. If you write someone's name, you're the only one that gets to live, and Susan will still be like, I don't know. I don't want to take a chance. I can't do that.
I just want to say I love the fact that you offered to sign her name for her. I think that's hysterical. I just love that.
Oh my God, I know. She's so funny.
And Susan, if you're listening right now, I'm sorry that we're laughing at your expense.
I'm not, Susan. If you're listening right now, I will continue to abuse you, and you know that I will.
Well, you living 5 minutes away, I'm sure you go at her house all the time, right?
Oh my God, yeah. Well, she's an avid gardener. In the summer, she's always out in her garden. That's all she ever does, is she's out there. So every time I walk by, I'll be like, "Hey, Jupes, what's going on?" And she'll her little face will pop over the fence. She'll go, "Oh, hey, Mooney, how's it going?" We often call each other Jupes and Mars and stuff like that. Mars bar, moon face. We do it all.
So Cyber Chase came up. Let's talk about that, because that is super exciting. It was around for a long, long time. It's still around?
They're still, they're still recording.
Wow. That is incredible.
Now, I know. I don't even know how many seasons. It's maybe 11 or something like that.
I think, yeah. If I hear it's 11. Let me just say, Cyber Chase is your role in Cyber Chase is probably my favorite thing you've done. By the way,
you know what? It's kind of one of my favorites too. To be honest with you, I love it.
Yeah, I love
and
Wicked.
That was supposed to be a one-off character. So Wicked was just supposed to come in for one episode, and that was it. And they were also ones that really let me go crazy and do whatever I wanted. And the more crazy I got, the more they loved me. And so, I rewrote a few little lines here and there, put in a joke that I thought would work. And, then they were like, we're going to write Wicked in for another episode. It was like, yay. And then they just kept writing her in. I loved it. I love that. I love it when that happens.
Don't just love when that happens. I mean, it's like, I know we talked to Holly Gauthier. I think that's how you pronounce her name. Holly Gauthier Frankel. She's from Quebec. She's a voice actress. She did stuff in Arthur, and she had this one character in Arthur that was more or less, kind of a one-off. But then they kept writing her into stuff. I'm not sure why. I guess they needed the character for more than what they thought they would. It's just I think that's really great. How either the fan, it's like a character that keeps coming back because the fans love that character so much, or for other reasons. But that must be a really great feeling knowing that
it is. It really is. It feels very good. That one in particular, because it was literally supposed to be one episode, and just for them to go, oh no, this is way more special than that. And they always, every time I go in, they say, you're our favorite character. Every time I go in there, they go, we love when we have the Wicked ones. I'm actually kind of writing an animated show myself right now, and it's loosely based on that character because I love her so much. So it's loosely based on that character.
Would you be able to spill anything, or is that top secret?
Well, it's kind of top secret, I think. I have to keep it top secret. But I think it's going to be along the lines of a teaching type of show. It's definitely going to be along the lines of a teaching show. And so just
at least tell us this one thing. Has this been greenlit yet, or are you just
No, it has not been greenlit yet.
Don't jinx it.
Don't jinx it.
Well, let me say thank you on behalf of, because Cyber Chase was a show I enjoyed. I dropped off at a certain point, but the early seasons of Cyber Chase really a lot of fun, especially when I was younger. Basically, thank you for making math fun with just putting the enthusiasm, the energy into that character. I mean, I remember like the first episode of Wicked was when she cast the spell that took away the people of it was like a happily ever a place. In the spell was like happily ever afterville, and like the episode's like called and they lived happily ever after. It was like some twist on the happily ever after.
Yeah, like or just ever after. Was it ever afterland?
It might have been. Yeah. It's something like that. And I remember like she and Hacker were conspiring. I think that's honest. I think it's why they brought her back. The chemistry she had with the Hacker. And
I know that just that love interest thing was, oh my God. And it got more and more ridiculous. And of course, in my own mind as Wicked, I had it in my head that he was absolutely smitten over her because that's what she's like, right? And that's the best part about playing a villain is they just think they are the greatest things in the world. And of course, it was not written like that at all. It was more that she was all over him really. But I just, in my own head, it was like, no, he wants me. He totally wants me. I am all that and a bag of chips. Mm-hmm.
I think that was Grey's at the end. She had this out where basically it's like, you be queen with me here. Like the king figure of the land is like, is practically proposing to her. And she says, she's screw that. Like, no,
yeah. No way.
She still has.
Yeah, me taking over, going, no way, this is all mine.
So, what did you think when you found out that Christopher Lloyd was going to be the character you were interacting with in the show? What did you think?
Oh my God, are you kidding me? That's when I was like, oh my God. I kept every week. Every time I go in, I'd say, let me do an episode with him. This is ridiculous. why am I not doing with him? And they're like, because he lives in New York. And I'm like, or wherever, I think he's in New York. And I was like, well, then phone patch him in or fly me to New York. How about that? How about you fly me to New York and I will do this with him. I do not mind if you fly me to New York and put me up in a really nice hotel. I will happily work with Christopher Lloyd. Yes, I will.
That's not union policy, Linda. Sorry.
I know.
Give me the Comic-Con package here. Come on.
No, I know. That's exactly it. Yeah, so every single time I go in to do that show, I always say that. I'm like, okay, is he here? And they're like, no, he's not. I'm like, you know what, you guys are, and actually they did say that. They said that at the end of last season, they said, we tried to do it. He does live in LA, I think, because he said, we tried to do it that we were going to fly you down to LA so that we could finally have a reunion with you guys. Oh, I was like, you're killing me. Why do you do this to me? Yeah.
Or hey, something that that surprises me, this just occurred to me, is there has never been like a Cyber Chase Comic-Con panel, which I think would do really, really well because there are
exactly. Yeah, we should. And I was right beside him, like that time at the Fan Expo, I think. No, was it Fan Expo? I think it was some other one. I was literally sitting right beside him the whole time. I was like, oh my God, why do we do this? But mind you, when you get there, you know how many fans he has for, for everything, everything he's done, but Back to the Future especially. It's crazy.
Well, then, hey, maybe next time, you go and you happen to run into him or you get in contact with, the whatever Comic-Con directors that ask you to participate in the events, bring it up to him. I think that'd be a really good idea.
That's a really good idea, actually. Actually, I should say that to him. Hey, you got Christopher Lloyd going there? You'd probably want me.
Yeah,
I'd love to sit in the panel with him. Oh, my God. I'd probably lick him.
Yeah. So are you still in Cyber Chase, or did that run end for you?
No, I'm still in there, still chugging away. I'm not in that many episodes, but every now and then, yeah.
I love characters like that. Really good characters that they, their appearances are very scarce. So you always have to come back to see. Oh, did they make a cameo in this, or did they appear in that? Did they have? Let's see. It's really great.
Well, here's an example for you. I mean, for me, the big kind of climax, the crescendo for Cyber Chase for me, like honestly for me, I probably dropped off around here because it just kind of seemed like a really cool ending almost. It was in like the third season. It's called the Snellfoo Snafu. It was a two-part.
Oh, yeah.
The big event. Hacker kind of essentially he wins. He kind of bamboozles our Cyber Chase gang, and they Matt, Inez, and Jackie, and basically they always have like a mathematical lesson. Snellfoo Snafu was about money, and the money was called Snellfoos, and basically they were bidding over a chip that would finally fix motherboard. Basically, the show would be over.
Oh, I remember that one.
Yeah, and the hacker, he basically sabotaged the chip. So, and this is always the image that sticks in my mind from it, where the hacker is like, he's in the kind of the rudimentary kind of CG kind of motherboard style, and he's on the computer. I was like the end of the first part, like, hello, kids, You're just like, haha, he's won. He rules it all. And then Wicked teamed up with him in there because they had the whole partner runner. It was just hilarious.
Yeah, to take him down, baby.
That's great. So, James, do you know what was after Cyber Chase? That was in 2001 or 2, I think.
Well, yeah, Cyber Chase started in 2002, and well, again, it's kind of going now. So we're kind of reaching just kind of like any additional rules outside of our deep cuts like that.
It started in 2002.
I'm pretty sure.
Wow. Yeah. I actually even remember going in for my audition. I actually remember that, which is really rare because you go for so many auditions. For every part you get, you probably audition for, I don't even know how many auditions you go to. Like, it's just crazy, there's a lot that for every part you get, there's a lot that you don't get. A lot.
Let me ask you this: how do you warm up for a character like Wicked? I wonder what that would sound like. How do you warm up for a character like that?
For her? Oh
Yeah.
my God, yeah. For her, you got to make sure you've got your thing. And here's the thing. And you had Susan Roman on your show, so she may have explained this to you. But with every character you do, you have one line, your catchphrase that sets your vocal cords and sets your whole body. So when you're doing a voiceover, you're not like the way I'm talking right now. My shoulders are down. You know, I'm just sort of relaxed talking. But when I actually pick a character that I'm doing, like Wicked. Now, Wicked, so for Wicked's one, my thing would always be, well, Hacker, look at you. Better still, look at me. And as soon as I do that, I know I can do the voice, and then I can go. But if I started with another line, like if I sort of went, oh, look, hey, kids, how are you? It's like, no, that sets my whole body. And suddenly, my shoulders are up slightly more, and I'm throwing my arms around, and my head is bobbing all over the place. And that's how I get into that character. So that's where I would start. I go, well, Hacker, look at you. Better still, look at me. And then I just go on. Yeah.
Wow. And so this is jumping ahead a little bit. But speaking of podcasts and things, you actually have your own show, your own radio show. Tell us a little bit about that, because we both had some trouble finding any kind of material from this, since it's a Canadian radio show. We're both in America.
Well, it's what we do. I don't know if we probably still have our website up there, although I don't know that the radio show ones were up there. It was when we were just starting our podcast, but no, maybe they are. So it was me and my best friend, Nicola St. John. She's an idiot. And I can say that because she's not here right now, and she can't defend herself. And so Nick, whenever we get together, Nick just says things, and I go, you can't say that. She goes, I just did. And I'd be like, oh my God, what? Oh, she frustrates me to no end. And we always argue about the stupidest things. So for this podcast, it turned into a radio show. It was really us talking about stuff that's happening in the world. And then we'd get a guest on, and we'd talk to them about stuff as well. And the things that would come out of Nick's mouth, I would just be, really? Really? This is what you're going to say? And she's like, what do you mean? This is me. That's the way she talks all the time. She's got this voice. Oh my God, you make me sick. And I'll be like, oh my God. And that's kind of what our show was like.
Wow. It
was a lot of fun. But the really cool thing about it was we had to find our own guests. And when we'd sort of, call up friends who are voice actors or actors and stuff like that. And that pool, we're bored with it. We're sort of going, And then one day I sat down, I said, okay, if you could interview anyone, who would you want to interview? And we started talking about people that we wanted. It became more Canadian as we went along when we were on, when we were doing it on the, Sirius XM. We started getting a lot more Canadian people, but one of the ones for me, I love this band called Great Big Sea, and Alan Doyle is one of the lead singers on Great Big Sea, and I just love them so much. They're very, very, very Canadian as you get. And I said, oh my God, if I had Alan Doyle, I would probably do the whole interview naked. I would take off my clothes and I would just do it like, and Nick was like, oh my God, you're disgusting. You're such an idiot. Oh my God. And then what happens? I went, well, you know what? In a perfect world, I could email Alan Doyle, who does not know me, from Adam. And I would just say, dear Alan Doyle, would you like to be on my show? So I went onto my computer and I went, well, let's see, Alan Doyle's fan page. Dear Alan Doyle, I have a radio show. Would you like to be on it? Yes, I would. When would you like me? And I'm going, and then that kind of thing started happening. Like I was like, I want to interview an Olympic athlete. Boom, I get these Olympic athletes on my show. I'm going, oh my God, I want to interview this person. Boom, I get this person. I want to interview this chef. Boom, I get that chef. It was really kind of fun. So we had a really great time. Although I did not love Sirius XM. They were jerks. So that's why we stopped doing the show, because they ended up being jerks.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. It was too bad because it was a really fun show. We had a pretty good following.
I'll have to listen to it in like a regular podcast form, because it sounds fantastic.
Yeah, I kind of wish we had just stayed with the podcast form when we were doing it. But podcasts were so new when we started doing it. Right. And our view was, oh, we got to get on the radio. We got to get on the radio. Now I go, yeah, I think the podcast is the way to go.
Maybe one of these days a revival. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? Maybe. It's a lot of work, though. I mean, you guys know that. Like, you've got to do all the research for whoever it is you're talking to, and that gets draining. Especially when it's like, for me, I was getting people that were really political, and I'm going, I don't know anything about politics. Oh my God! And so I'd have to do all kinds of research on this politician or whatever, and that was a lot of work, man.
That is the worst, isn't it?
Exactly. That's exactly it. I was like, oh God, I can't do this. But a hockey player, now that's no problem. I love hockey.
Especially Guy Lafleur, right?
Guy Lafleur. See, I should have asked for Guy Lafleur on my show. What was I thinking?
Go Maple Leafs.
I'm an idiot. No, he was on. Well, yes, go Maple Leafs. That's my team. But Guy Lafleur was actually a Canadian. Oh. He was on the Montreal Canadiens. Yeah.
Cool.
So what kind of stuff are you doing now? Your radio show has ended. What kind of stuff have you done in between?
Well, I'm still doing a lot of, I do a lot of commercials and stuff. All I do is voice work. So I'm still doing whatever animation stuff comes my way. I've got one right now that's called, I always forget the name of it, Top Wing. That's going to be a really cute little one with all these little birds and stuff like that, and they're getting into all kinds of trouble. I did one Zuzu Pets where I'm a rock singer in it, a little with a really, really high squeaky voice, which is my death. I got lots of just little things going on. I don't know. I'd always keep my finger in the pot there.
Great. And what's like the usual? I had another question that we were talking about this a while back. You were talking during Christopher Lloyd. You're flying down to the States and recording down there. Is that something that's usually common?
No, I've never done it. I still haven't done it. What we do is if it's a show that's being done in LA, they'll phone patch us. So they just put a patch on the thing and we just speak right into the microphone, just like we're doing right now. And we just do it from there. And someone will be in LA and I'll be in Toronto.
Wow. So do you know anything about that? Have you ever worked with any other American actors that have flown up from America just, to do this show or this character?
Yes. What's her name? Jennifer Hale. She'll come up every now and then. But a lot of, really phone patching is way cheaper for them, because if they fly someone up, the only time they really will fly someone else is if they have lived in Canada, I would say, for the most part, usually. But I would say a lot of times they just phone patch it. But if they already have lived in Canada and they want to see their relatives, sometimes they'll say, oh, I would like to go up to Canada and I will stay with my relatives or whatever. My dog wants out. Relic, stop it. Just leave it right now. Leave it.
We're almost done here. That was my question. James, did you have anything else you wanted to say before we wrap up here?
Oh, sure. I mean, I have a big question, I guess, to go out on here.
Shoot, go ahead.
So let me ask you this, Linda.
Yes.
Sailor Moon Sailor Moon's an icon. So how does it feel to be part of a legacy? Not only has touched a lot of lives, also as you shared with us wonderfully. And by the way, I just want to say I love your storytelling, lady. You tell a story like no one else. You do such a fantastic job. I'm there experiencing that Comic-Con story you were telling. I just want to give you kudos there. Sorry, I'm interrupting my own thought. My point is, Sailor Moon's an icon. How does it feel to be part of a legacy that's touched and saved lives?
I feel like I'm the luckiest person in the world, because I literally was going out to do a job. I just went, it's just like, if you're a garbage man and you're going out to collect garbage, it's kind of in a way like that. But I love what I do so much. When people say, I always feel like voice acting is like the best job in the world. I'm like, it is absolutely the best job in the world, hands down. When you're working. When you're not working, not so much. But when you are working, it is. And I feel like not everybody gets to get, like, a part like Sailor Moon comes around once in a lifetime, really. And I have a lot of friends who have done so much animation. They've done so much and they're so amazing, but they've never quite had that character that has that following, that it's like a cult following, really. And it's fantastic. I just feel like I'm really lucky to have been a part of it, for sure. Is that good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Anything else you want to touch on, James?
What were some of the best lessons that Susan Roman imparted on you back in those early days?
Yeah, that's a good question.
I know. I feel like I shouldn't give them away because I kept them close to my heart. One of the ones that was the most important to me was, she said, when you're doing little boy and little girl voices, because women now they get a lot of kids to do kid voices. Whoever taught kids how to act, I hate them because they're really good and they've got those sweet, pure voices. But when we're asked to do a little boy or a little girl voice, you know, you can almost use the exact same voice. But what Susan Roman taught me was the difference between a little boy and a little girl voice is boys don't care. So when a girl says something, they mean it from their heart. Like, I really like your dress. And a little boy will say, I really like your dress. Mm-hmm. You know, they're saying it like, I don't really care. I don't really like your dress, whatever. And they just say the lines. They just get it out there. They're just like, yep, this is what it is. I'm just going to talk and blah. That's all there is to it. Where a girl is like, oh, I will give you everything I have. So that was one of the most important things I would say that was one of the big ones that made a big, big impression. And I've been able to do a lot of different little boy and little girl voices over the years. And it's because of her.
You know, I think that I'd imagine that must mostly apply to women because, you know, usually, you know, men have, you know, deeper voices, so they can't really voice little kids very well.
Well, there's some men that do. Some men have slightly higher voices, you know, those guys that sort of have those voices that are, you know, like, I don't know, that's almost like not like mine. There's and they really push it. They really push their vocal cords for sure when they do little kid voices, for sure. Everybody does. Like it's hard on your vocal cords doing those things.
Oh yeah, for sure. Have you ever heard of Richard Stephen Horvitz? He did Angry Beavers, Invader Zim. He did Skylanders. What else?
I bet you I've met him, and I don't even know it.
He's got a really interesting
ones like that.
He's got a really high-pitched, iconic voice.
Like Jason Marsdale. I think that's kind of what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Well, if that's just about everything, I think we're going to wrap up now.
Okay.
Well, you guys were awesome. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
Yeah, and I'd like to thank you too, Linda, for sacrificing your time to be with us here this evening,
and for being an hour late, like a jerk.
Don't worry about it.
We were warned you were a little wicked at times.
Oh, nice.
Well, the worst part is for me, I'm never late for anything. Like I am chronically early for stuff, and I hate being late for anything, and I hate when other people are late. So when something like that happens, I'm like, no. I peel my skin off my face, and it's awful.
That's why we had a bunch to talk about. James, you had this great joke. You told me as soon as we came on. What you want to recite that for Linda here?
Okay. It's kind of a dumb riddle joke, I guess. Riddle me this: What do you call Linda Ballantyne's birthday?
I give up. What do you call Linda Ballantyne's birthday?
Valentine's Day.
Oh, really? I thought you were going to give me something really good. Oh, really? Yeah, you know how many times in my life? Well, it's funny because on the internet for a long time, my birthday was put down as February 14th. And that's not my birthday. And so everybody, all like fans will always tweet me out, happy birthday. I'm like, thanks, not my birthday. It's in October. Yeah, nice try. And I think it's because it's Valentine. Yep. Yeah. Happy Ballantyne's Day. That's what I always say on Valentine's Day.
You know, Linda, I had one more question. I'm sorry.
No, keep it coming, baby.
This is something that garnered my attention relatively recently. What does your family think about your career? I've always thought that was interesting. These people, you know, who don't have relatives or other family members that are in the same profession as them, voice actors specifically, or actors, all in general, in the same category. What does your family think of what you do?
Now I think they are silently proud of me, but they don't go out of their way to tell me that. My family is extremely sarcastic, and they don't, when you're, especially my brothers and sisters, when you're like a family of four, like a fairly large family, it's like, nah, you don't want to give anybody any kind of a spotlight at all. But they'll happily tell people, oh, well, actually Linda was. And it's like, oh, you're giving me credit, are you? My own kids, oh my God, they're all evil. All three of them are evil. Those girls rarely, well, they used to never, ever tell anybody what I did. it's because this is what I do. I'm their mom. That's what they want me to be. You're my mom and whatever, blah, blah. You do cartoons. Who cares? And so they wouldn't tell any of their friends that I was Sailor Moon at all. And they're kind of around the age where, you know, they were getting to the age where their friends were watching Sailor Moon. Like I remember one of their friends one time dressed up as Sailor Moon for Halloween. And she came over, and this is a kid that has been to my house many times for lunch. This kid is always at my house. And I said, so what's Kendra going for Halloween as? And they said, Madeline goes, oh God, she's going, here it comes. She's going as Sailor Moon. And I was like, what? Kendra's going for Halloween as Sailor Moon? Yes, that's so perfect. She's got the. I said, did you tell her? Did you tell her? She goes, tell her what? That I was the voice of Sailor Moon? And Madeline's like, no, why would I do that? Because she's dressed up as Sailor. Why do you do this? Oh God, my kids are evil. They are so evil. Hang on one second. If I don't let this dog out, he's gonna pee his pants. Get out. All right, go. It is minus 18 degrees Celsius here, something like that right now. It is so cold. I'm done. I am done with this cold. And now the dog goes out. I'm like, you're crazy, dog.
I know. I feel the exact same way. It is freezing. I'm in Michigan. I'm just 2 hours away, and it's cold. It's cold.
Yeah, I'm done. I'm done with it. I'm so sick of this stupid country. I just want out. I'm like, I need a Comic-Con down south somewhere. I got to get out of here.
Right.
Well, yeah, but my kids, now that I've been doing the Comic-Cons, like they really honestly could care less about what I do. And then when they went to the first Comic-Con, like I finally, like I went to a couple of Comic-Cons and I said, you know what, you guys should come to this. You guys would really love it. And they're like, oh my God. Oh my God. So they finally went to one and they were like, oh my God, this is so amazing. And then they went to one of my panels and everybody was like, oh my God, it's Sailor Moon. And then Madeline, my oldest one, would say, I'd be up in the middle of the panel answering someone's question. And she'd sort of put up her hand. And I'd look over at her and I'd say, yeah, this is my daughter, Madeline. And everybody went, oh, you're so lucky. And she was just so proud of herself. And she said, can I have $20 to go buy something? I was like, you rotten little shit. Yes, here, take it. I'm like, oh, get yeah. But that was her way of sort of claiming me, you know, like sort of going, I'm your daughter. Watch me ask for some money from her. Rotten little kid. But anyways, now that they've sort of seen a little bit more of the Comic-Con life and stuff, they tell people a little bit more. But not that often. Not that often. They're pretty quiet about it.
Well, everybody, that just about wraps up our time here. James, I'd like to thank you for coming on and spicing up the conversation a bit. I really appreciate that.
You got a lot of spice there, James. You got a lot of spice.
Well, thank you, Linda.
And I encourage all of our viewers and listeners to go and subscribe and come back for our next installment. We've got some great talents coming on the next few weeks.
And I would just like to say, subscribe to Youch Films Podcast, or I shall punish you in the name of the moon. Yeah, that was a freebie.
You'd better listen to Serena there, everybody. Have a great night.